Jake here with Tim Full Cap of the Black Room Media Show. Got a new guest on the episode today. Going to be introducing here in a little bit. But, just so everybody knows, we're going to try to be here weekly, give you all at least a 30-minute episode every week, once a week, if possible. So here's another good episode. I'm going to go ahead and bring on my co-host, 214 ATM. What's going on, ATM? How you been, man? All right, there we go. Working on this here. Well, while we're working on that, just want to tell everybody, we're trying to bring the truth to people, let people know what we, don't really see or hear about all the time. So, when you get the chance, do some research. Not everything we're saying is for everybody, but, some of this may be for you. What's going on, ATM? How you been, man?
I've been blessed, man. Just continue to elevate, keep moving forward, and not complain and stay on a positive note. And like you said, man, I've been listening in the background. You definitely right. The 30-minute segments is about to start booming. They're about to really take off, man. I'm really excited for this.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully this little change in format will, help get things going a little bit better. Keep us going a little more smooth.
The liquor is back.
That's it, man. All right, so we're going to go ahead and bring on a new guest today. This is John. John has a lot of knowledge. John knows a lot of things that the everyday man doesn't know but should know. These are some important things, ways to realistically, physically, legally get your life back from the government. John can explain some of these things to you a little bit better than I can. He's kind of giving me some of this knowledge, and I'm slowly doing some of my research, but I'm going to go ahead and bring John on here. And he's going to be able to introduce himself and tell you guys a little bit more about, what I kind of briefed y'all on. What's going on, John? How you been?
Hey, doing well, my friend. Good to see you. And good to see you, ATM.
Hey, boss, how you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
Yes, sir.
You want me to just go ahead and start talking?
Yeah, John. So one of the things I was wondering about, some of the things that we've kind of spoken about were, the ways of getting your life back. How whenever you're born, you sign this birth certificate, your parents sign this birth certificate, not knowing that they're actually signing your name, your legal, all capital name over to the government. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted you to, tell ATM a little bit about, tell the audience a little bit about, because like I said, when you told me about these things and Anna Von Wrights, and I started listening to the things she was saying, it really opened my mind a little bit more to some of these conspiracy theories that aren't so theory, aren't so theory, but are fact.
Exactly. Well, the way it first really sunk into my concept. Now, a little bit of my background, just quickly. I grew up in a religious home, but ended up studying under a Levite, the gospel of Jesus Christ. Can you believe that? And in doing so, we learned the Torah, or the Old Testament, in conjunction with the New. So I became a teacher in our little group, and then after that, the rabbi came back. He went to Israel, came back, and I turned it back over to him. But a few years later, I really dug deep into the scripture, not from a religious point of view, but from a spiritual point of view. And I was introduced to the whole concept that what we're understanding from this book may not really be what the book is about. And I was listening to a program of a man who was talking about finding, he said, there's got to be a key to language in the Bible. Well, dude, the key, yeah, there's a key. There's the keys to David, keys to the kingdom. There's, the Jews know all the things about these keys. So I started doing my own research, and I ran into, I did a gematria on the word key. And the gematria, the word for key is mafteach. Mafteach. And it comes from the word patach, which means the door. So you have patach, the door, and mafteach, the key for the door. Anyhow, the gematria for key is 528. So, dude, this was in the beginning days of AOL, and so I'm typing in gematria for 528, and on one side of the screen pops up all the Jewish gematria and all the meanings of the words and how they have a numerical value. And on the right side, I see this thing pop up, and it says solfeggio frequency 528. And I said, whoa, what the heck is that? So I popped onto it. From there, and if you're not familiar with the solfeggio frequencies, the first 6 solfeggio frequencies are connected to the first 6 days of creation. And a solfeggio frequency is this. It's energy. And so in the beginning was the frequency, and the frequency was with God, and the frequency was God. And all things were made by this frequency, and without this frequency was not anything made that was made. So a whole new world of the Bible opens up. Now, I haven't forgotten your question, so I'm getting to that. In the process, I found a gentleman by the name of Romley Stewart from Australia. And he's teaching about government and about the Bible. And Romley says, he takes you to the book of Genesis. And he said, you want to know about what's happening out here? He says, you have 2 choices. You could be in one jurisdiction or in another jurisdiction. You can be in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, whatever that means, or the tree of life, whatever that means. He says, but it's your choice. And so he breaks down government to being in one of these 2 jurisdictions. Now, these 2 jurisdictions run parallel together through this construct that we call society and humanity. It is also paralleled in the scripture by the 2 priesthoods, the Levitical priesthood, which is an outward priesthood. And what do? They collect stuff from the masses outside and bring it inside. And then there is the Cohen, the high priests, and they work inside the temple. So they show two systems, and the Levites can't go inside and work, and the Cohen don't do any work outside. So you have 2 jurisdictions. One is hidden, one is visible. Well, that's what we have today. You have the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And what does that represent? Good and evil. There's a battle. There's constantly a battle that is going on. And it's a battle for what? Set up in our government, it's for your soul and for your money and for your time and your effort. And then there is the tree of life, or the inward experience, where in nature, that tree, that garden produces everything you need for sustenance. So let me ask you a question. Can you go out into the public fairway and plant an apple tree?
Oh,
No, you cannot. They will cut it down because you can't give people free food. Not in their system. And that's the important point. Not in their system. But these 2 systems are running parallel. So eventually I started asking the questions. How do you get out of this system? I need to find something to get out of this system. And I ran across, before I got to Anna Von Reitz, I ran across a group of men that were studying the law. And they set up the Lighthouse Law Club, where they had the information about law and about the different jurisdictions and how they operated. And so I joined them and got started with that, and then ran into Anna Von Reitz. Now, I can't tell you exactly where I ran into her, but I found her. And she explains the two jurisdictions that we're living in. And to get back to how we get into the wrong jurisdiction, to the knowledge of good and evil and the battle, it starts with the corruption of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church.
Hold on. You said the corruption of the Catholic Church. So you saying the Catholic Church was corrupt?
Oh, you got to remember the history. Rome, the empire was Rome, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the Roman Empire ended, and what popped up? The Catholic Church. So did Rome die? No. They morphed into something that they thought would be even better, which was a religious mythology. The mythology that has been, look, there's only one religion, if you want to put it that way. And that is, there's only one story. And that story is the story that was written in the stars. Every single religion gets their stories from the patterns, the story patterns in the sky. Now, our book, the Bible, that's the one I use. People use the Quran; they have the same thing in theirs, and the Jews have the same thing in theirs. But it says God named the stars and put them in their place. And in Genesis, He said He gave them for signs and for seasons. Well, if you go to any church and you talk about the stars and the symbology, that's the devil. It's in your book. They're for signs. So, did I answer your question, Burns?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, because I can get a lot into the Catholic Church and stuff like that, but I just wanted to hear your perception on it and what you thought about it.
Well, look, I can talk about them because I grew up in the Catholic Church.
Look,
they're my
as well.
They're my people. I can talk about. So I've studied religions, and I've studied the history and the history of that particular religion. I mean, I've got volumes of books in my library about the Catholic Church and how they their history and how they were created and what they did and what they believed. And I mean, it's all there. If you read it, you see that this started out as a political entity, and they morphed into a religion. And under the cover of religion, they have continued to control the world. They dominated the whole world. So they created the corporate structure. Therefore, they own the corporations. Every corporation, anytime anybody incorporates, it is owned by the Vatican, and it works for the Vatican. So the Vatican works in, you know what the acronym for law is, do you not?
What's that?
Land, air, and water.
Land, air, and water.
Air and water.
Elaborate.
So let's talk about the land.
Well, before you get started, it's called laws now, because when Trump was in president, he included space.
Yeah, he did. Well, you know why? it's still part of the air jurisdiction. They're still up there, you know. But
Right.
yeah, they're in a battle for what they call space. There is no space. There is no space. Uh, you can go back to the 1954 encyclopedias, and they will tell you about the dome that covers our Earth and how high it is. I mean, they've seen it. They went down there, they
So,
chronicled it.
do you
The,
believe?
like,
Do you believe we're more
you can't find it today.
on a flat surface?
I believe we're
I
on
think I
what the
may be
Bible
cutting out a little
calls an
bit.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think Jake signal is getting bad. Hold on. I think he was saying something about do you believe the earth is flat or the flat surface?
Well, it's. I mean, we could go off into a tangent right now, but I'd like to get back to the topic, which was the jurisdiction and how we got into it. But maybe we can do a show about that at another time.
Right. Okay.
About
Okay.
the difference between Nassau and the Expanse. But if that's okay, I'll back to how we got into this jurisdiction. So Rome
Okay.
created the corporations. Now, how do you get a living person to become a corporation? They because we live on the land. We are supposed to be ruled according to our constitution. Well, it's not our constitution, but the constitution that was written for the Brits to conduct their affairs here on this American soil. They're supposed to be using common law, which is the law of the land. Now, in between the land, you have water, you have seas. And so the law of the land cannot have jurisdiction between the lands. So there is maritime law. Everybody familiar with maritime law? Maritime
No, go
law is the law of the sea.
Okay.
And that is, you have land, water, and now we're going to talk about air. There's also what is known as admiralty law. Admiralty law rules the air. And the admiral is the only one on a ship that has any rights whatsoever. So once you enter the ship, whether it's a real ship or a citizen ship, which is ruled by the law of the sea, you have no rights. You sign yourself over as a merchant marine in the British Navy. And they'll give you liberty. You can get off that ship every now and again for 2 or 3 days or whatever, but you have to come back, slave. You have to come back and work for that admiral. So how they tricked us into doing this is they took a birth of a child is a super, super spiritual event. You take a dream and you take that dream and you bring it down into the waters, and the female gives birth to a wish, to a dream, and creates a human. In the process, of course, she is carrying cargo. She's carrying cargo. And the cargo is in salt water, salty water, law of the sea. And in order to give birth, she has to go, just like a ship, has to go and birth at a dock to unload the cargo. When that happens, the dock master or the doctor gets the woman, not the man, oh no, gets the woman to register the child and give it a name. That registration, Regis, means king. to register, you're turning everything over to the king. Well, that's British law. That's the crown law in the Queen of England with all of her servants. And when you do that, you become not your parents' child anymore. You become a ward of the state, because the doctor from that point sells your birth certificate to the state, and the state becomes your ward. They have control over your children until you do the paperwork to get them back.
And that makes sense, because, like, at the end of the day, we don't own our kids. They can take our kids at any point in time they feel like we're not living up to their standards. So, 2 + 2 make 4 all day.
That's exactly right, Burns. And that's what they do. That's why when Hillary Clinton came out and she said it takes a village, she wasn't talking about your village and your people to raise your children. She was talking about the state. The state is the village that is always talked about in political terms, because you have no rights. And most people don't realize that. So when Romney Stewart started talking about the jurisdictions and how we got into them and how we can get out, in turn, I started doing research, found the Lighthouse Law Club, found Anna Von Reitz. And Anna Von Reitz has figured out the system. She is, if you're not familiar with her, she is she was, maybe still is, a Supreme Court, I think she was, a Supreme Court judge in Alaska. She was an Alaskan Supreme Court judge.
Okay.
So her family were judges. And she said, 40, 50 years ago, they started asking the question, something's wrong. And they started digging and they started studying the law. And she has figured it out. Now, when you register your baby, you become a what? A U.S. citizen. When you register to vote, when you register your car, anytime you register your property, you're turning it over to the state. Now, in the 50s, in the 60s, when they started taking all the gold and silver out of the economy, their rules, which are based off a book that is called the Chicago Manual of Styles for Symbolic Language, and it's used in every court system in the world. Wait a minute. What was that? The Chicago Manual of Styles for Symbolic Language?
What is that? Because I'm not too familiar with that.
That is the rule book, along with, in the United States and worldwide, that book is used in courts. In England, it's the Oxford Manual of Styles for Symbolic Language. It's the same thing. Now, that's the language they use in corporate law and in the court. So, Romney Stewart and his buddy, Rowan Lorian, got a copy of this book and started studying it. And they found, out of I don't know, it's like a 2,000-page book. It's a big book. It's like a Bible, and with all these rules and regulations and everything in it. And it's all based on the Latin law and Latin language. They found 2 verses that made the whole book and the whole system fraud. One of the lines said that this is a symbolic language and cannot be spoken in public.
Why is that?
Well, what are you speaking in court? If they're using the symbolic language and you can't speak it in public, what are they using in the court systems? It looks like English.
You're right.
It can sound like English. It is not English. And, you know, Mr. Smart Bill Clinton, the genius, he gave the system away. When he got in trouble with Monica, and they got him in court, and they asked him, such and such and such and such, and he goes, I guess it depends on what the word is. Because, and I don't know that I have anything here with all capitals, but you've seen a contract, right? It's all capitals. And let's just say that this is all capitals. This is not. This is a bunch of words in regular English. But, oh, here you go. Can y'all see this? Anything else has to do with corporate law. This is corporations. Okay. If it's regular English with a capital and small letters, that's regular English. But this is the language used in the court systems. Capital letter. Yeah, but this is a symbolic language. It cannot be spoken. The second thing is, if this is a page, a contract with all these capital letters running all over it, and their charges against you, right? And the judge always asks you, do you understand the charges against you? And what do most people say? Well, yes, Your Honor, I understand them, but I don't agree with them. Well, it doesn't matter. You've already said you would stand under her judgment by your understanding. You overstand and understand and understand. Well, you're in her jurisdiction now. That's a key word for her or him. But the other thing with the corporate contract is this word right here, if it doesn't have a hyphen in between, like Latin, this word has no connection to this word. Right. So this word stands alone on the page. So you can take a whole page filled with all these words, and they're individual words that have no meaning except for that one word combination right there. It's not connected to this or any of the other ones. Fraud. They get you to believe it's English. It's not English. In there, they talk about it's dog Latin, and it is a Latin language that is used for infants to teach infants. And so that's what they think of us. And rightfully so, because we don't know their rules. We don't care. We're just here, trying to make our $150 a week and watch our TV and our football games, Right. So now that they have tricked you into the system, you don't know the language. They take advantage of you. Everything they do is based on policy. So they have the men who enforce their policy. They're called policy men, policemen. They're not peacemakers or peacekeepers. They're policy men. And their automobiles look like they're judges. They're all black and white. The judge wears his little black and white minister outfit, and it's religious. It's a religious system. It's Rome, so of course it's a religious system. And look, you got to go to court, you got to go to church, and you have to confess, and then you have to pay penance, and they make you pay.
That's great. I never thought about it like that. That's crazy. I ain't never thought about it like that.
Yeah, so you are, because you have registered them, you have turned over with your birth certificate. My birth certificate, I don't have it today, but I did have it. It was literally a bond. It was a bond. It was a piece of paper this big, like legal size or bigger than legal size. And it had the scrolls on the outside, and it had lettering on the back and on the front, and it was a literal bond. that thing is bought and sold on the stock exchange, and they're buying our energy. And just like the Matrix, or we're a battery. They're buying our energy and using our energy, and they're buying and selling it on the stock exchange. Well, when the Pope created that birth certificate, because before you wrote your family Bible or your family whatever book you had for your family, that's where you chronicled your children and your grandparents, and you kept that family Bible and you passed it on. Mm-hmm. So with the birth certificate, he set up, because they took the gold and silver out of the economy. Now, according to the rules of the Chicago Manual of Styles, there's no way to pay off debt because you have to have real money, which is gold or silver. Well, we don't have gold or silver. We don't use gold or silver today. We use monopoly money. It's Federal Reserve notes, whatever that is. It's a pretty piece of paper, and they got all kinds of scrolly stuff in it, and watermarks, and make it real pretty. But it's not worth the paper it's printed on. So he put a together for everybody a trust, and in that trust, the value of what your life is going to produce. So, Jake, you and I, he put in, $50. For Burns, he put in 100,000. I don't know why. Burns gets more money than us, but
because I am him.
Yeah. Yeah. So those trust funds were set up. Now, when you get your Social Security card, because you have to have one, what people don't know is my original one, and I may still have it. Maybe next time I'll see if I can find it. But the original one I had my Social Security number, and then before it had a letter. That letter tells you where your trust account is in the Federal Reserve Bank in Dallas or Philadelphia or San Francisco or New York or Georgia or wherever Minnesota, wherever they're at. Philadelphia. Your trust account is your Social Security number without the dashes. And that was set up for you to have full credit. So I'm going to back you up a little bit from there, because now we understand that we're bought and sold. We register. We come from the tree of the knowledge, from the tree of life jurisdiction when we're born, and everything that comes off this land belongs to the people. We're supposed to get a part of it. We're supposed to get the profits from it, and they're split up between everybody. So these people in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they know that. So they get us to register. We turn over our trust account to them so that they can take care of us, because we're wards of the state, and we turn over our name to them. So now they can use our name, they can use our trust account, and they can do whatever they want to with us, really, because we've given them power of attorney. We've given them our proxy vote. You don't have a vote. Your vote means nothing. You turn it over to the lawyers in Washington, D.C. when you register. Now, this sounds like an invasion, right? We've been invaded. We didn't even know we were invaded. So the rules of international law state that if an invading group is coming into a land to take it over, they have to divulge within 3 years to the people, we're invading, we're taking everything. And if they don't, they violate international law, and they can, if people know about it, they can do something about it in the international courts. Well, we didn't know that. And the majority of people still do not know that this is part of the law. So are we going over your time? I don't want to.
Oh, no, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah. So, John, how do people get out of this system?
Well, we'll get to that in just a second. So they take over your account. Now they take your name. Now what they're doing is the IRS. Every law that we go by has to be connected to a statute, and that statute has to be connected to a code. That's why we have code of law, and we're supposed to go by code of law. Today, the president writes an executive order, and the Congress does whatever they want to without any of us. Doesn't matter what we think, and that becomes law. And so the IRS statute is connected to a code for the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Well, I need a AK-57 from somebody, or AK-42, or whatever they are. So one of you two guys, because y'all are paying income tax and you have a corporation that is either selling alcohol, tobacco, or firearms. I need to buy a gun. Which one of you is going to sell me a gun, right? Well, we're not selling that, but they are. And so we pay the taxes. That's what we're paying tax. That's the fraud in the whole thing. So there's no code for paying tax. And you don't have to. Because all you have to do is write them a letter and say, oh, I saw your definition of a taxpayer, and it's somebody that works in the jurisdiction of the federal government, and I'm not one of them, and I'm not a merchant marine in the British Navy either. So I'm not going to pay taxes anymore. Simple as that.
I mean, would that actually work, though?
Yes. Now, 20 years ago, no, they'd come cuff you up. But today, Jake asked the question, how do you get out of it? Today, there is, on Anna Von Reitz's website, there's a page. Let me just see if I can pull it up here.
I'm really wondering, like, I could tell the government, look, I'm not paying taxes this year because, we're not doing that.
I don't know if you can see this. Is that too much glare? Let me see what I'm looking at. I think it's right over here. It's the 1776 Declaration. Can you see that?
Yep.
1776 Declaration of, I can't read that, Notification for America. This is a one-page document that is written in the Constitution. This goes back to 1776. I'm sorry, it's a Declaration of Naturalization for Americans. It's a recording secretaries. So in this page, what you have to do is you've got to fill this out, and then you've got to do a two witness testimony to declare your political status, which is you want to be an American, because you don't want to be on a citizen ship, because that puts you in international waters where our government resides. The IRS, they set up shop in Puerto Rico, and in one of the island territories. It's not America, but it's one of the islands, and they set up a mining corporation, because a mining corporation cannot be audited. That's why the IRS has never been able to be audited. Now, they gave up 1 year or 2 years at one point, saying, it would be the good guys, but they don't have to be audited. And they set up, and I told Jake, I guess it was the other day, that maybe both of y'all, that Anna goes through where she tells you the history with boxes and how the boxes fit inside the bigger boxes. The bigger boxes are government, but we ended up with two foreign governance corporations, two foreign government corporations, governance corporations, and it's known as the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. One of them is a territorial United States, and the other is a municipal United States. Joe Biden's the municipal president of the United States. Donald Trump is the territorial president of the United States. So those two jurisdictions in our government have always run parallel. But when one became the president, usually both groups said, okay, you can become the president of both of them. And but this time with Trump, when he came in, he did all the executive orders to separate the two. And today he is the commander in chief with all the codes for the military nuclear weaponry in Cheyenne Mountain. And so when you hear Joe Biden saying we're going to send all these ships and everything over here and they're going to blow everybody, he doesn't have control of the military. He has control of BlackRock, the mercenary groups, but he does not have control of the U.S. military. So it's just a bunch of noise. He can't do anything. He can't do anything. So she has explained all of that, and you can write this paper, and you get your birth certificate, and you get two witnesses to testify, notarized, that you are the person born in this county in this state, and then you couple that with your declaration, and that pulls you out of their jurisdiction. She's already got it set up. Now, here.
So, quick question: what does that mean, though?
Well,
you get pulled out. What does that mean?
They can't use your trust account anymore. They can't steal from it. Because here's how they're stealing. Here's one of the ways. When you sign a document for a contract, and well, you've seen how the contracts are. I wish I had a blackboard. On the bottom, they say, can you see? Sign at the X. This is a contract. Sign here. Well, wait a minute. First of all, according to all law of the sea, what is an X? That's a mark. And a mark is a signature. Remember the pirates? Can you sign? And they go, no, it's your mark. X. That's a signature. So what they do is they come over and say, okay, I want you to sign here, sign the X. So what you're actually doing is you are co-signing for them, but you don't know that. A cop pulls you over and he says, you did this and that and the other, and here's your ticket, and he says, sign here. Well, he has to sign it first. So someplace else he writes John Police. He writes there, and then he says, now put your signature here. So in actuality, this is a corporate contract, and you're co-signing for him, but you don't know that. So you can get this at home, this your ticket, and you can go, you know what, I don't want to pay this. So you send the ticket and your desire not to pay, and you send it to the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State then sends this to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General then sends it to the policeman to pay for it. Because according to their laws, all you're doing is co-signing for the policeman. But you don't know that. So you pay it. That's fraud. With your mortgage, when you sign, they go into your, first of all, the bank doesn't loan you any money. This is you sign a promissory note to pay. They go into your trust account and take payment for your house. And then they turn around and give you a contract, another piece of paper that says, here's your contract and your payment booklet. Now, what's really going on that we don't know about is that payment booklet. You're supposed to sign your trust account on it and send it back to them, and the trust account pays for it. But you don't know that. They get paid, and then they make you pay it again with interest. That, my friend, is fraud. That's fraud. So
These are the kinds of things that people need to know. It is.
they know this. Now, look.
It is a wild world we live in.
I'm going to read you because I'm going through a mortgage thing right now, and Anna does a on her website. She has this. It says magic words. Okay. Now, once you do your status correction, she goes, all right, faced with foreclosure, child custody theft, federal taxes when you aren't a federal employee, you have to be an American, you know, a corporation or dependent, fine. Here's what you do. You immediately request a status hearing. You walk in to the court, and when your name is called, you stand up right where you're at. Don't go through the gate and cross the bar. What did I tell you about bar? British Accreditation Registry. Then you're in their jurisdiction. Don't cross that bar at all. And this is what you say. You know, Your Honor, she didn't put that, but you can say that. You said, there has been a mistake. I am here today in my true and natural capacity as one of the living people of your birth state. And I wish for this entire case to be dismissed with extreme prejudice and eliminated from the court record. Now, this gives the judge his hold harmless to act in your favor. I am the priority creditor. You're giving the money to the mortgage company, to the bank. They're not giving you any money. They're just putting numbers on a computer in an account. They're using your money. And the employer in this courtroom. And I am fully indemnified against loss or damage by indemnity bond, AMRI. I'll send y'all a copy. AMRI 00001 RA 393 427 640 US on file at the U.S. Treasury. I am exercising my revisionary trust right and my exemption from the jurisdiction of this court effective on your birthday. And, you know, when I was born, it was 1847. And I wish to be paid treble damages by the prosecutor for time loss and inconvenience. This is about the time. This is about as cut and dried as it gets. Chances are they will stare at you like you're a talking horse and may ask you to repeat what you just said. Repeat it. About that time, sphincters are closing. If the judge, or actually it's a court administrator, it's not a judge, asks for additional instructions, say, I wish for any and all charges to be offset by mutual offset credit exchange as guaranteed by the congressional intent of House Joint Resolution 192 and the established as Public Law 73-10 and UCC 3-104 copyright. I wish for any and all charges to be offset by, no, I already read that. I wish for the regulations to be followed to the letter by the claimant and the claimant's bank. You must obtain my signed acceptance of the billing on the face of the billing statement, and the claimant's bank TTL officer must return it directly to the Secretary of the Treasury for certified funds deposits in that amount in the claimant's account. So they have to pay you. When the original signed billing statement is received by the Treasury, as indicated by the dates on the green return receipt card used by the bank's TTL officer to send in the claim, the clock starts running according to the Federal Window Regulation J and Federal Reserve Regulation Z. Truth in Lending 12 USC 226.1. On the 16th day after the green card is returned, the claimant's bank TTL officer is enabled to credit the deposit to the claimant's account. Now, if you got a mortgage, that's your mortgage that they're trying to get from you. And that bit of bookkeeping settles the account. It's paid for. I have been greatly inconvenienced and wish for just compensation from those responsible. In the case of seizure of children, let me see if I can go down to bankruptcy or, well, I'll just read it. The billing statement is going to be an astronomical, and no judge in his right mind is going to want to present it to you. But you must insist on seeing the billing statement related to the case. So they have to show you how much they want you to pay. You have to insist. Or there is no case. If you don't see it, there is no case. Which is the logical out for the judge. Simply dismiss with prejudice and beat feet. Otherwise, the losses to the company will result in him losing his job. So you got to give the judge an out, and that's what you're doing with all of this stuff, because he's just supposed to arbitrate between people. But if he's caught in this fraud, he's lost his judgeship. Since you are dealing with a bankruptcy on top of everything else, you will want to bring certified copies of your birth certificate and deed of reconveyance and your certificates of assumed names to the court with you. If you are in a child custody matter, you will want to bring certified copies of your baby deeds also. If the judge wobbles, wave the bailiff over and give the certified documents to him to deliver to the judge and the judge to review. These are powerful intellectual property and private property issues. If they get caught pillaging, which is stealing your name and everything else, it's like imprisoning you. They can be fined $250,000 and spend 10 years in jail. If they get caught mischaracterizing, kidnapping Americans in violation of Geneva Convention, see, you're not in their jurisdiction anymore. You're in international jurisdiction when you come back to the land. You basically go back to being under international. They can face firing squads. The more people who exercise their exemptions, the quicker we will get the court reform. Assuming that they decide to play ball, the judge will return the bill for your acceptance, and she tells you what to write on it. Write accepted for full and complete settlement, and AMR 10001RA 393427640 US, Texas, for example. And then your first, middle, and last signature, capital, and then small letters. Not all caps.
I got two questions for you.
Yeah.
So my first question is, have this been done before?
Yes, it's been done. See, what Anna did is because they have gotten us to register with the federal government, the Crown in London, who owns the the territorial United States went to the UN, and they said, listen, there's no more Americans on the land. So we claim the land, we claim the people on the land, and we claim everything coming out of that land as ours. Anna had reestablished the original American States Assemblies in all 50 states by this time. So we had Americans that had come out of that jurisdiction that are starting to have their own courts, their own laws, their own judges, their own, what do they call, grand juries. They're looking for, look, we're going to replace with Americans everything that is in that court system. Your judges, it's not going to be judges, but it's, you know, that whole system we're going to replace with Americans. And that's where our jobs are going to be coming from. You want to be a marshal? You want to be a sheriff? You do your stuff, go to the American States Assembly, become a member, do your paperwork, and you say, I want to help in this area. What do you need? Right now, it's voluntary. And they have literally, the world is changing because of it. Now, when she went to the UN and told them, why were there no Americans? Because we all registered with a foreign jurisdiction. There's no more Americans on the soil. Well, she had reestablished. She said, listen, we have Americans to govern us. We don't need y'all's help anymore. Because originally, the founding fathers, after the Revolutionary War, hired these guys, the Vatican and the Crown, to do the paperwork for our government, to pay our bills and stuff. That's how they paid off their debt. In the meantime, they built a bureaucracy and started taking over more and more and more and feeding that bureaucracy. And after the Civil War, before the Civil War, there were 6 institutions. 4 of them were in unincorporated American. 2 were these foreign governance jurisdictions that we call the Republican and the Democratic Party today. Well, during the Civil War, 2 of the second, I guess it was the 3rd and the 4th institute that was unincorporated went under. And when they Lincoln was getting us back out of the Federal Reserve System because they'd already taken over. And it was going to reproduce American greenbacks, our own money. Up until then, we were using their money. And he instituted martial law because the Revolutionary War, not the Revolutionary, but the Civil War was not what they tell you it is. It was a war between those 2 foreign jurisdiction governance groups. It wasn't a war of the people. They were the Republican. They were wanting to steal money from the South and getting the South to pay the taxes and bills that the North owed. Well, they didn't want to do it. So they went to war. They wiped out 2 of the original institutes of government, unincorporated, American, and then we were replaced with theirs. Now, the names of their 2 groups were exactly the same as the original 2 groups of institutes that were unincorporated before we contracted these guys out. But the difference was the foreign group was all in capital letters. So you had English, and then you had this symbolic language. It's not supposed to be spoken in public. Well, people. So they said, "Hey, we're your government, and come register with us." And that's how they took us over. So she told him. Now, when our government was originally set up, and these foreign interests came in to do our paperwork, we set them up originally with 5 bearer bonds, each of them worth $10 million in gold. Back in 1781. You know what those things are worth today?
No, how much?
Billions. Billions of dollars. So, because it compound interest from, 100, 200 years ago.
Right.
Now, she wasn't able to get all of them back, but she got 2 of them back. 2 of them worth whatever today's market value for $10 million in gold back then, accumulated, you know, accrued to today. And she cashed them in. I watched her do it. It's on video. It's on one of her websites. She cashed it in. She set up a banking system for Americans who are coming out of that system and coming back to the land. And she's got the banking system almost 100% ready to go.
Okay, and see, and that was my last question. After you go through this process, how do you live after getting out of the system? Like, what is the process of or like what do they have to endure by getting out of the system?
Well, actually, like, okay, Jake, we all work for these companies that work for Lowe's, right? That work with Lowe's. So the only difference that's going to happen is you're going to sign a different paperwork instead of the 1040 and the one that you use to get them to take your Social Security out. You sign one that they don't take it out. They give all that money directly to you. So you don't pay taxes anymore. Once you you don't pay income tax. Now you can pay sales tax, but that's okay. But then you don't pay any property tax either. They cannot stop you on the street. A policeman cannot stop you and give you any he can't steal from you. He can't extort from you anymore. You don't have
and those what those tickets are, extortion. Because like you said, you have to sign and agree with that officer.
Yeah. And all you have to say is, I don't agree. He said, I'm throwing you in jail. Are you what do they call it? There's a term for when they try to kidnap you. It's
what, getting arrested?
well, no, it's a legal term that it's like kidnapping, but it's a legal term like personage or I forget exactly what it is. But you say that word and they back up. Now, the Lighthouse Law Club, he has a whole list of things that when a cop stops you, when a policeman stops you, you just read off this list of all the actual rules and regulations for stopping someone. And here's the big deal. They have to get you in their jurisdiction first. So that's why they stop you and they say, did you realize you were speeding? You were going over the limit? And when you say, no, I wasn't. And then they'll ask you something else. Because they're looking for you to say something, a word that puts you under their jurisdiction. Did you know you were driving over the limit? And if you go, no, sir, I did not know I was driving. Oh, buddy, you just used their commercial term, which puts you in their jurisdiction. If you're in a truck doing business, commerce, you're in their jurisdiction. That's why the state troopers always stop the 18-wheelers. That's their jurisdiction. They're not supposed to stop the people traveling. See, if you're traveling, you're on a land jurisdiction. And you say, no, sir, I was not doing that. I'm traveling home. As you see, I have no merchandise in my car. I'm taking my family and we're traveling home. They can't give you a ticket.
I heard that before. I'm not gonna hold you. I heard that before, but I didn't know how true it was.
Yeah. Now they can keep asking you questions because first they want your driver's license. That puts you in their jurisdiction because you're using one of their things that you registered, to go into their jurisdiction. But once you do your paperwork, you're not in their jurisdiction anymore, so they can't write you up. Now he has already gone to the to all the states assemblies, the federal government jurisdictions. She's gone to the attorney generals. She's gone to the secretaries of state. She's written all these. She's already got the whole thing set up. You can get a plate that's an American plate. You don't have to buy register, because when you register your car, you turn your car over to them. You don't own your car. You didn't know you didn't have to register.
Right.
You got your car.
Right.
You could have declined, but you didn't know. So you turn everything over to them. Well,
yeah, because like if they come for tax evasion and stuff like that, they come take your cars, take your possessions and stuff like that.
If you're in their jurisdiction, they can. Look, Burns, if you're in their jurisdiction, they can kill you.
Right.
They can kill you.
Right.
But if you're not in their jurisdiction, it's like having diplomatic immunity. But better. It's American. It's American immunity. So all you have to do is do the paperwork. And they have it set up where instead of you got a business, instead of registering your business for an LLC over there, that's in a private jurisdiction. All the corporations are private. All right. Anytime you go into their system, you become private. But you want to set up your business in the public international jurisdiction. And that's what she has done. She's done all the groundwork. She's done everything. When she did this, when she first came out and told everybody, we got the paperwork, we know how to do it now, because it was a trial and error thing for many years. And a lot of people went to jail because they didn't understand, or they kept changing the law and they didn't keep up with it, and they got them. Well, she's done everything. And she went to our government, she went to the Pope, she went to the Vatican, she went to the UN, she went to the Crown in London, she went to our federal government, and she wrote them the Riot Act, and gave it to them, and told them this is the way this is going to be. We don't need y'all anymore. As soon as she did that, Mr. Trump came out and said, listen, this is your country, but you're going to have to take it. Now, why didn't he tell us how to take it?
Right.
He couldn't. He could not. Because he is the CEO of a foreign governance private corporation known as the Republican Party. And if you kept up with when Ron Paul was running for president, you know he won the presidency.
Right.
He won the first 4 voting. It was where was it? It was in New Hampshire and all those eastern. He won, but they stole it from him. What they did is the Republican Party, since it's a private corporation, and they can change the rules anytime they want, and they did. They changed the rules right in the middle of the election, and stole the election from Ron Paul. They can do whatever they want.
I've been saying that for years. Like, they can do whatever they want to do. We can't stop them from doing whatever they want to do. But man, it's getting close to that time, man. We're gonna have to do a part 2 of this, man.
Okay.
When can I have you again for a part 2? We need to do this again.
Yeah, we can do it next week if you'd like to. I should be available. If not, the week after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, most definitely, 'cause I will keep in contact with you, because we need to run this back, because I feel like there's more information that that didn't get out, and I know there's a lot more questions, because I have people texting me questions, but we're running out of time right now. So, but next time. I will get all these questions that people have, and we'll see if we can get some Q&As.
Okay, that'll be fine. And if you want, you can text me those or send me those questions, and I'll get if I can links, web links, where these people can go and do their own study and find out for themselves. Because look, you can do anything you want to in this world. You just have to get the okay from the right person, right? If you want to kill somebody, kill somebody. If you want to sell drugs, you can sell drugs. You got to pay the man. Right. So they have to set up an antidote and have it available for anybody who wants out. Did you see The Matrix?
Mm-hmm.
You remember at the very end when the um, the spiritual woman, I forget what they called her, was talking to the big guy, and she says, well, what if people want out of the system? And he says, they can get out. He says, I'm not going to go against my word like they would, but they can come out of the system. They tell you right there, because they have to publish everything somewhere. They do it.
Right. Look. That's another thing we might have to get into, because, like I be saying, it's a little truth in every movie that they be putting out, and like you said, they have to put it out somewhere, and I feel like, you're right. That's how they put it out in entertainment, and they dress it up as, oh, it's only entertainment.
Right.
Nah.
That's exactly right, Burns. Exactly.
But man, like I say, it's getting close to that time, man. I appreciate you, John. Thank you for coming on, Tim, for your cap. Jake internet was messing up and missed ATM, but shout out to everybody that's a part of Black Room Media. And until next time, man. Again, appreciate you again for coming on here, John. Historian, man. Appreciate you.
Take care.
And that was John, man. John the historian, giving y'all that we can take our identity back. We don't have to be suppressed to their system, and they stealing from us. They taking our money. And the crazy thing about it is what I learned today also about the bar, about you stepping in across that bar and you going to this, man, that is crazy. So, man, I'm not gonna. I learned a lot today, and next time it's gonna be a part 2, man. We're gonna remix it and bring it back. Until next time, y'all already know what it is. It's TkDaPoet. You already know it, so you ain't gotta quote it. And if I spoke it, you already know what that means. Yeah, I wrote it. Black Room Media. We out.